along with all the politicians who are here, and whenever there's a lot of politicians at one location, there's a lot of advocates, there's a lot of people who are looking to promote certain causes. And actually we're joined now by someone from AARP, Dionne Polite? Dionne Polite. All right, sounds good.
How you doing, Dionne?
She is the Associate Director of Multicultural Initiatives at the AARP. So tell us exactly what your job is and kind of what you do.
So my job at AARP here in New York State is to make sure that communities of color, specifically African Americans, Blacks, and Caribbeans, understand the value of an AARP membership,
Gotcha.
that they are engaged and connected as general population, and they really, really take advantage of all the wonderful things that AARP has to offer, and that their voices get heard.
And I think that probably you can tell me more than I can tell you, but I could assume that the issues and the problems and other things that elderly people or
The 50 and older population. 50 and older.
Yeah, watch that elderly stuff.
Watch that, because I happen to be a member myself.
There you go.
It's different.
We'll handle him.
It's
That's
different
right.
based on the communities you live in, though. The upstate communities are different. The
Right,
city
absolutely.
populations have very different needs
Absolutely.
than
Absolutely
the rural
true.
areas too. And I'm sure that there's differences, and that you have to navigate those differences
Right.
when you help your members.
That's an absolutely on point. And what we're doing, though, especially here today at the caucus, is we're talking about issues that are relevant across the state. And those three issues that we're focusing on are utilities. We really are we want to encourage the governor to appoint an independent utility advocate.
For what purpose?
To oversee really how the rates, to make sure that there's some stability in the rates across the state. There are some places in New York, within New York State, in particular in the city, where the rates are unbelievable compared to what somebody in, say, St. Lawrence County is paying. So we want to make sure that there is some stabilization, and that I don't know if it can really be equal, but we want it to be fair.
Okay.
And then I'm sure that a lot of your members are on fixed incomes too, so they need it to be
Right, exactly.
something they can plan around.
Exactly, and we're an advocacy organization, so we want to make sure that our members really are able to live their lives the best way possible, and this is one of the ways we can do that. The other thing that we're focused on is caregiving. We're caregivers. We're trying to encourage folks to sign petitions so we can get the CARE Act passed, and the CARE Act is about making sure that caregivers, whether you're taking care of a loved parent or a child or any other relative, that caregiver is provided with the support and the resources that they need in order to be able to take care of that person. Say somebody goes into the hospital, oftentimes we find what happens now is that the caregiver brings that person home and really doesn't have a complete idea. Yeah, and a perfect example, someone talked once, we heard a story about somebody bringing home a loved one who had diabetes and having the responsibility of having to administer insulin and not really knowing, haven't received any lessons on how to do that. And just imagine the panic of thinking, dear God, I'm the person, I have their life in my hand, and this is somebody that I love. How do I really administer this?
You mentioned diabetes. How prevalent or how pervasive is diabetes among the population of 50 and over?
Well, we know that for me, in the multicultural communities, diabetes is something that's very relevant because, people of color are disproportionately affected by diabetes, right? So, but overall, as far as AARP members go, but that's not a figure that we keep track of.
Okay.
But for us, in the multicultural initiatives area, it is something that we pay attention to.
So the push by AARP in obtaining this kind of legislation or attention by the governor and the legislature, in fact, impacts the entire
Absolutely.
whether they're members of AARP
Absolutely.
or not.
That's
so this
exactly
goes
right.
beyond what AARP's
That's
interests
exactly right.
are. Okay.
It's about it's about doing what's fair and what's good and what's right.
And I think you're saying there's three things.
And the other one was thank you. I don't want you to think because I'm 50 and older that
I don't think that at all.
Okay, good. Work and save.
Okay.
And work and save, is to make sure those people that don't have, for employers that don't necessarily have a retirement sort of savings plan in place, to encourage this to be a part of what they offer their employees, so that everybody has the opportunity to prepare for their future.
Okay.
Great. And we did some events with you with the AARP last year at this point.
Yeah.
Talking a lot
You
about
are true partners.
Exactly. Talking about boomer flight, which I think with the baby boomer generation getting older and they have a lot of money to spend and a lot of times they're leaving New York State. I'm wondering how that might impact different communities throughout the state. I know that you guys went across the state and went to different, went to like Erie County, went to like Monroe County,
We were in New York City
Rochester,
as
went to
well.
New York City as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
How is it different in New York City versus like maybe the upstate communities?
You know what? I'm not sure it's any different because it's about economics, right? And so that's something right across the board. And as we talked about, cost of living, no matter where you are, what the setting is, whether it's rural or in the inner city, and in urban settings, the issue still comes down to economics, and that's really the gist of it.
Great.
How many members of the legislature is a member of AARP?
You're asking some questions that I do. How many members of the legislators are? So anybody that's over the age of 50, if they're brilliant,
I know, but
they would have been able to take advantage of that. That's not.
I know. I just gave her some ideas of signing up some of the members.
Yeah, that's a brilliant idea. And you know what? If it comes from you, it's even better. It's even better. Because an AARP membership you get once you turn the age of 50, and whether you want to admit it or not, we're sending a card to your door, right? So it's an opportunity for them to take advantage of that.
Why are people so hung up on getting older?
Well, I'll tell you, in different communities, it varies.
What happens in communities of color?
In communities of color, and I'll tell you, because we never really show our age when we get to that point.
We look good all the time.
We look good all the time.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that there is this hesitancy to really say, okay, because you get the card when you turn 50, right? Mm-hmm. So this is confirmation that you've reached that point in your life. And I say all the time that you have to understand that from 1 to 50 is when you're learning, and 50 on is when you're living. So it's really a declaration that you've reached that point of living your life to the fullest when you turn 50.
My father is going to be 86 soon, and
God
he
bless
told
him.
me that he is actually, lives in Puerto, good health. He takes himself, so serious in his health that he takes care of himself better than, a teenage,
He's a smart man.
He told me he started living at 45.
Boom.
There you go.
So and that really, and the magic comes at 50. It really, really does, because all those things that you've gone through up until that point, it stays in there. And then from 50 on, you kind of say, these are the times really when you say to yourself, should I or shouldn't I? And then another, and this is interesting, and you haven't asked me about it, but it's just really exciting. I want to tell you about it. Another initiative we have at AARP is called Life Reimagined, and it's for that point when you've retired or you're thinking about it, and you reach that point when you want to say, what do I want to do next?
When I grow up.
When I grow up.
There you go.
When I grow up. So, that's also available for everybody who's an AARP member.
Very, very interesting stuff. Dionne Polite,
Dionne.
Dionne Polite, the Associate State Director of Multicultural Initiatives at AARP.
Yep.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Enjoy Caucus Weekend.
Thank you so much. You guys be well and stay out of the cold.
Yeah, we're doing our best to stay out of the cold.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very much
Thank you,
for
my
coming.
love.
Stay healthy.
Take good care. You too.